I'm like, okay. Pod Caviar, I'm in the building with Graham from 1 Gram Army. What's up?
What's happening there, sir?
Hey, man. I was just on your episode, and it was an amazing episode.
We did a banger. The bar has been set very high.
It is, yeah. But now we get to do things that we missed on your show. And more importantly is we're going to revisit the a theory that I told you, we talked about Ghostbusters 2.
So, you know, what's interesting about this Ghostbusters 2 thing is I can't remember if that was ever recorded. Like if that was on a podcast.
Was it?
I think we were just talking because I was playing the soundboard and I have some Ghostbusters clips.
Oh, yeah.
And I think just sort of innocuously you were like, oh, do you know about this theory that Ghostbusters 2, it takes place in hell?
Yeah.
Like they're all in hell.
Yeah.
When they crossed the streams, they all died.
Yep.
It explains so much, leaves so many questions. I don't know how you want to dive into it. I don't know if you want to start.
You know, this thing that I found online, it says, you know, crossing anybody who's seen Ghostbusters, you know, Egon said, do not cross the streams, you know, very bad. It would be very bad. It says, try to imagine all life as you know it stopping instantaneously and every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light.
Actually, you could have just asked me and I could have repeated that.
Really? It's on there, the soundboard?
Yeah. No, I could have just said that. I've seen Ghostbusters so many times. I've said to people, imagine every molecule in your body exploding at the speed of light many times.
And that's exactly what they did. They crossed the streams, and then miraculously they survived. But in reality, well, according to this theory, they did not survive.
Right.
And, you know, it says that, it goes on to say, you might think that the sequel discredits the theory, but theorists have an explanation for that. The Ghostbusters are in purgatory during Ghostbusters 2. That film repeats the events of the first movie, but they're slightly askewed.
Yeah. And actually,
skewed.
without you reading that fan theory off the internet, but before we get into that, that was when you mentioned that theory existed.
Right.
I did no research. I've seen those two movies.
Yeah.
So many times.
Yeah.
That I needed to do no research.
Right.
And it was almost instantaneously I accepted that theory based on my mind and Ghostbusters. Because at the end of Ghostbusters, they cross the streams. And everything explodes in order to stop the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Then they're all encased. You know, some of them are encased in the outer shell of these demon dogs they were.
They
come out of their coma covered in marshmallow. And then they go downstairs to this reception of people. Yeah. And then at the end, Slimer flies into the camera. And you're like, wait, I thought all the ghosts went away. Right. But there's Slimer. Yeah. And then in Ghostbusters 2, like you said, it makes sense because they're being punished. Right. You know, they're all living these really mundane, non-ghostbusting lives. And then they're sort of given this weird opportunity to be Ghostbusters again. Yeah. Everything is way more extreme. They can't figure it out. Underground is a river of evil slime. Every time, and the movie focuses so much on what's going on underground. Yeah. And then even the way it's shot, like even the timbre of the film itself is different. Yes. Like it's a little darker. Everything,
it is.
Everything is slightly askew. Everything is a little bit strange.
And something, Ghostbusters 2, something was always off about that movie for me. Everything from the picture on the wall to just, I mean, it's just a genuinely creepy fucking movie.
Have you ever heard the story about the guy who was in the picture on the wall?
No,
the real person who played him. Okay, well, you keep talking about this. I'm going to look that up.
But just the general, the theme about the movie, the way it looked, the way it's almost like a tent over it. It just everything about it was very creepy, and very few other movies have made me really feel that way. I mean, there's certain things that have mostly horrors, but I wouldn't consider Ghostbusters to be a horror. This theory definitely is something that holds a lot of weight, and you know, it's very interesting. The more that I read about it, it's like, you know, the more interesting it gets. And just to go off what I said in my last episode was like, you know, these theories, conspiracies and everything, they in reality, when you're talking about a real event, they do border the line of absurdity and reality. Right. But when you're talking about a movie, man,
right. Well, it means motive and opportunity.
Yeah,
it goes
exactly.
back to your last episode about the Kennedy assassination. It's one that makes you go, well, what the fuck? Because so much of it doesn't add up,
right?
And genuinely doesn't. It's not like the moon landing where you can find someone who's like, yeah, well, that's how it works in outer space, dummy. And right. Well, that guy does know more about outer space than me.
Exactly.
Kennedy assassination is one where you're like, wow, I have questions that have literally never been answered.
Exactly.
That lots of other people have. And especially when it comes to a movie like this, like Ghostbusters 2.
Right.
It took a lot for Dan Aykroyd to get all those guys to want to do it again.
Of course.
That's why Ghostbusters 3 was what it was because Dan Aykroyd had been dying to do another Ghostbusters movie and nobody else wanted anything to do with it.
Right.
Possibly because Ghostbusters 2 took place in hell.
Yeah.
And maybe making a movie with that theme, it's like making The Exorcist. Like, oh, you want to make this funny movie about ghosts?
Right. Guess what? Yeah. It's about to be real, for real.
Like, why can't we get this hue off of the film? It has like a weird like blue hue to it. Like everything's like a little bit darker. Like the whole movie, they're underground, but they're outside.
Yeah.
It's a real thing. And this is what I wanted to bring up, too, that I've looked up here. The guy who played Vigo, who's Vigo the Carpathian, the guy in the painting, who is like a horrifying character, right? Like a demigod from medieval times, death is but a door, time is but a window, I'll be back. That's what he said. and that's another thing that like kind of lends credibility to the fact that they're in hell. They're like, we looked this guy up and we didn't even know who he was.
Yeah.
But it turns out he was like drawn, quartered, shot, stabbed, poisoned, like
he's been through it.
Yeah, and he is a horrible character, right? Like a horrible person. But the guy who played him, his name was Norbert Group. And I read this whole article. I flipped through it. We had to stop the podcast because it was so long. I was just reading it. But the gist of it is the guy who played Vigo the Carpathian was like the son of a Nazi soldier. He himself was at one point like sort of Nazi youth training.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, he was... his father was like a bodybuilder and like worked out on Venice Beach, but he was an alcoholic. And he used to hit him. And this guy got in all manner of trouble for... all manner of things,
right?
Just really kind of a terrible guy. I think he was acquitted of murder too.
Damn,
technicality, yeah. So just long story short, even the actor who played Vigo, which we could do a whole podcast just about that.
Yeah,
guy.
It seems very interesting.
Yeah, I encourage anyone to go look him up.
But
that.
Damn.
So yeah, the movie does. It seems like it was shot in hell.
Yeah, and I believe it, but conspiracies and theories, they will do that, and certain things like this will actually maybe never be, validated. But at the same time, there is an overwhelming amount of evidence that suggests that it is true.
Well, and art is open to interpretation. I think this is definitely something you can do with a situation like this.
Of course.
You don't get to like interpret the moon landing, but the fact that Ghostbusters 2, it could be whatever you want. It could have been an unintentional consequence of them making the movie.
Right.
Doesn't make the theory invalid. Like you said, we talked about it on my last podcast. And to me, it made so much sense.
Yeah.
When you told me, I was like, that is at least at the bare minimum, it's a perfectly logical way. It's a perfectly logical lens to view that movie through.
Yeah. And then they said that, they're working typical mundane jobs, and then they get the chance to be Ghostbusters again, and then nobody seems to remember what happened. I mean, look at what happened in Ghostbusters. Yeah. How do you forget that?
Right. How has the city recovered from being smashed by a church was crushed, like cars, a giant marshmallow man. Like life after death has been proven on a large scale. It's no longer just a group of guys going around like, this is, everyone can see this. This is going to be on every news network on Earth.
Right.
Life after death exists. There's these parallel dimensions, and they have deities within them that can create giant marshmallow men that can destroy your city. Yeah. And these guys fucking warped them out of our dimension with the particle accelerators strapped to their backs.
Exactly. How do you forget that?
Right.
And people were looking like they didn't even know who the fuck these guys were.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
No, it made sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, the end ends with Slimer flying at the camera.
Yeah.
You get into this world, it's all about what's coming up from underground.
Yeah.
Bobby Brown is in Ghostbusters 2. If you're not familiar with the movie, he opens the doors for him.
Yeah, in itself, yeah.
And asks if his kid brother can have a proton pack.
Yeah.
Certainly, the afterworld is all encompassing. Eventually, one day, Bobby Brown will die, and go be in Ghostbusters too.
Yeah,
it's a purgatory for everyone that's in it.
Right.
Harold Ramis is there right now.
Rest going through that whole shit. Yeah.
Comedian.
But what is that? Hellraiser was like that almost. Once you open the Layman configuration, then you are in a world. When you die, it just repeats over and over again, and you slowly start to realize that, hold on, something isn't right. It's just, Groundhog Day had the same theory.
Yeah,
that he was in purgatory.
Groundhog Day is a highly underrated movie.
Yeah. The guy that he kept sidestepping was like, they said that was Satan.
Yep.
Yeah,
the guy who eventually punched in the face.
Yeah. Nope. So, I mean,
it's open for interpretation.
Yeah.
And that movie is clearly dying for interpretation.
Yes.
It's clearly way deeper than Bill Murray wakes up every day. You think Bill Murray would have took that movie if they were like, well, we offered it to John Candy and he turned us down, unless it was truly like a movie about being tortured forever.
Yeah.
It's essentially that's what Groundhog
exactly
Day
what it
is about.
Yeah, right.
Like,
I mean, yeah.
So you know what was? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I mean I was just saying. It's just those theories are very valid.
Yeah. Do you remember Nightmare on Elm Street? The what was it? The Final Nightmare or the New Nightmare?
New Nightmare, yeah.
Wes Craven's New Nightmare, where it was a movie about the people who were in Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah,
they were in the movies.
Yep.
And then they started coming to fruition. And it was because Freddy was based off of this ancient character that had existed throughout time that basically took whatever form of nightmare you gave it, whatever you were most afraid of. Right. So they had created a society that was afraid of Freddy Krueger and then made him exist because this thing existed. And I thought that was such an underrated premise, because
that theory in itself is kind of people really think that. And not to get off too off topic, but the Men in Black, that the comedy movie that we all know, that is actually, there are many stories and deep stories and evidence that shows that those are real people, and they were thought to be part of the government. But I think that I got this from the last podcast on the left. They did a good series on it, but I forgot the name that they said, but basically the fear, like they feed off fear. So you have to have a certain thing that everybody's afraid of, and then that fear will manifest itself into a physical being.
Right.
And then in order to live off the fear, you have to produce more fear. And that's what they do. They go around and they basically fucked with people who said that they had alien encounters and everything.
Right. And they made them terrified.
Yeah.
But really they themselves are some sort of interdimensional beings.
Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could see that. Although in that case, all police could be those things.
Yeah, it could be anything.
All authority figures, it could be anything. If it fed off of fear,
they feed off the fear, so...
Yeah, you could be like an old wino wandering into a real nice neighborhood and just taking a stroll down the street. You would feed on so much fear.
Of course.
You would be quenched. There'd be no need to be
you would be full, abundance beyond abundance.
Yeah, you could do very simple things to make people afraid.
Of course, yeah.
You gotta make yourself look Muslim and get up on the back of a bus and just start talking out loud.
Yeah.
And people, delicious. Look,
I think the thing that really stopped them from doing that is that they didn't really know how to become or look like normal humans,
Right.
So there was always things, they either acted funny, they said weird things, or they were clearly wearing makeup, or their skin was like a really opaque color with like a thin film on it. It was weird, but yeah.
Definitely. Well, no, I'd heard about the Men in Black, obviously beyond that film. Something else I wanted to bring up. What was I going to talk about? It was a movie, some sort of fan theory. I forgot. I already lost it.
Yeah, but fan theories. They're like they're out of the universe, the realm of all imagination. But a lot of them.
What was the one before that you just mentioned before Men in Black?
Shit, what was it? Damn.
Yeah, see?
Groundhog Day?
Groundhog Day. Yeah. Groundhog Day, it was before that. What was the one before that?
Was there one before that?
There was one before that.
Oh, shit.
What was it? Fuck.
Damn it.
I'm not going to go back and listen to it. We're gonna figure this out as we go. But it was another thing about a fan theory, and I can't remember what it was.
Shit.
Yeah, no.
All right.
Some other thing where I felt like it made sense that people were in purgatory. But anyway, the point being open for interpretation.
Yeah.
And I think those fan theories are fun. And I had no exposure to any of them.
Yeah.
And I'd heard some before. You know, there's like a fan theory about The Simpsons where Homer is actually like incredibly rich.
Yeah.
You know, like, and it like happened earlier in his life. Like his mom disappeared. He got all this money.
Yeah.
From her estate, and that's like why his dad's broke, and he can do all the crazy shit he does.
Yeah.
And live in a big house.
Right.
That one, I'm like, well, I mean, that just fills in a gap.
Yeah.
You know?
That tells a good backstory.
Yeah,
you know?
I think really Homer just does all this because he's a cartoon character,
right?
And he's a vessel for phenomenal jokes.
Of course,
like
yeah,
great hysterical jokes.
The similar thing about Family Guy. They have theories about that, and I'm like, this is a cartoon,
right? Where they're telling jokes.
Like anything can happen in a cartoon. It's not that deep. And even kids' cartoons are like that. Yeah. Rugrats was one of them.
Homer was like the boot. Remember when it was the bootlegger?
Yeah.
And then like he went to jail. And like Skinner is Armin Tanzarian. Like,
right. Yeah.
Like that's fine. We don't necessarily need a fan theory for that.
Right.
Right. It's a show with
a
lot of big holes.
Right. And they can do anything that they want. You know. Yeah. So. I don't know, man. They are interesting to read through and then go through, but
that one struck a chord with me. That's all I was saying.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if we hadn't had so many stories of things that happened, like on Poltergeist and like the Exorcist, where shit was like really happening, the Omen, you know, then a lot of these fan theories wouldn't gain traction as much as they do. But people have a lot of time on their hands.
Yeah. Well, and I love that kind of film lore.
Right. You know, it gives you something to think about.
They told everyone that they were going to have ambulances at The Exorcist because it was so scary. People went in and freaked out because they were going to the movie theater and there were like ambulances outside. Yeah. And they went in and they saw like a movie about the devil.
Right.
And in reality, the curses around The Exorcist, her back got hurt from them putting her in that sling thing, and they should have never had done that.
No.
And it was,
that caused permanent damage.
Yeah, she did. But also, like, you know, Linda Blair walks around and she like lives in the world and she's like attached to an epidural. Like, you know, she's like, I see a chiropractor all the time. Right. People are like, Satan came into the room and burned her spine, fused her spine into one single piece forever. Like, you know, and it was like a guy's dog died while the movie was made.
Right. And you know what? A lot of those so-called horror movies that come out that say based on true events. Yeah. There was one, and I forgot what it was, but there was one where it said based on true stories, and I'm like, oh shit. Yeah. So I went to it. This was back when I was married. So the ex and I, we went and saw
Amityville Horrors, maybe, huh?
No, it wasn't that one. It was some new shit where a woman bought it was a cabinet, and the cabinet was like haunted so that the monsters came out of it. In reality, the only true event was somebody bought a cabinet off eBay that may or may not be haunted. So they bought it just that. I swear to God, that was it. Wow. But because that little event that they got them the motivation or, you know, the thoughts for the movie, they can say it's based on a true story.
Well, you know, you've seen Fargo, right?
Yeah. I was just watching that shit before I came over here.
Such a fantastic movie.
Yeah. Have you seen the show?
Of course.
Yeah, that's what I'm watching. Yeah, I'm rewatching all of them.
There's not a new season now, right?
No, I'm on Hulu. I'm catching up.
So, yeah. No, watch them all. And, you know, even when you start feeling like this is slowing down, I think it was 2 seasons or 3? 3. It's 3, yeah. As you get into each one, you'll be like, this can't be as good. And then it comes around.
Yeah.
But, yeah, those Fargo, you know, the original Fargo movie by the Coen brothers. Yeah. That movie, when they put this, that wasn't true. When they were like, this is based on true events, they were just like, put it on there.
Yeah.
I think that was so dope.
I recently learned that shit too, and I was like, what? No way.
Actually, I learned it kind of like early on when I first started getting into the movie because I read it in like an independent newspaper. They like did a review of the movie. They're like, that's not really. They were like, we heard some guy say so one time some guy got put in a wood chipper, and then the whole movie was like, like. No, they wrote that movie. It's not based on anything at all. None of it's based on anything. They just put it on there. I think that's an important statement too. On going to movies, they're like based on actual events. Once there were some people in a room,
exactly.
Based on actual, The Godfather, based on actual events.
It is amazing what you can add to the beginning of the movie, and it worked, because for a long time I thought that Fargo was like really based on true events, and I was like, what the fuck? Because that movie was so absurd. It's like, what the fuck is going on in this minuscule place that why is all this shit going on?
It made and it made sense too that it would be based on true events because it happened there, and you're like, well, I wouldn't have even heard about it. Yeah. Absolutely. You know about have I mentioned this on the podcast before? You know about the Coen brothers and why Bill Murray did Garfield?
Yeah. Well, you told me about it.
Yeah,
you might
know if it was on the podcast, but Bill Murray, the Coen brothers, air quotes, made Garfield the movie. And whoever they are, there's some other guys. Right. He thought it was like the Big Lebowski Coen brothers, and he accepted it. They went and recorded it. He was like, this is like some kind of shitty kids movie. They're like, yeah, it is a shitty kids movie.
Yeah, exactly. You got duped.
Yeah, here's your check. Read the. Oh, I sure hate Mondays.
Just how retarded are you?
Why is that the only sound effect I've been able to use? I have more.
Oh shit!
Now you know you boys owe me a lot of money for that beer you drank tonight. God damn it!
Oh man!
If you had to guess, how much podcast do you think we've done?
35 minutes.
15 minutes on the nose.
No shit! It's just been 15 minutes.
Yeah, we have plenty of time if you have other stuff.
Oh holy shit!
No, it did feel like it was dragging, and I was like, "That's all going to be terrible." But that's going to go by so fast.
Oh, okay, yeah. We stopped it though, right?
Oh yeah,
we did. Yeah, see,
Wait, I can tell you though.
All right,
I'll tell you what it is beyond that. Well, plus 7 minutes, so 22 minutes.
22 minutes. Okay, yeah. So we still got some. Oh shit! Yeah, we're good. Yeah. We're good. Hell yeah. Well, it's great to start the second season finally, and okay. You want
a beer?
Yeah, let me get one. But yeah, it's great to start the second season, and like I said, that story is more of, I think, instead of it being just about the Babushka lady as a conspiracy, I think that was more of a not all conspiracies are conspiracies, and that it really connects to a wider narrative of what do you want to pay attention to as far as what's a conspiracy, what's a theory, what's this, what's that, what is, it's too many questions. A lot of questions don't get answered because there isn't a sufficient answer, or they don't need an answer because it's apparent, or that it's just an infinite number of answers. Nobody's ever going to be, like I said on Graham's show, his last episode, everybody is not going to be happy 100% of the time. We had a really good discussion on a great topic about that, and it's worth noting that yes, you will have times where you make a decision and that's just a decision. I mean, and whoever's not happy about it can go fuck themselves. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. But in today's society, it seems like the needs of the few will be heavily layered onto the needs of the many,
right?
Without question. You get, if you question it, then you get punished. Period, and that's not right.
Right, asking for inclusion. That has been very difficult for a lot of Americans to achieve. Right. And already, like, not necessarily really, like, you're not really being segregated. Like, you're not really being.
No.
We're talking, like, you've broken it down to this level where you're like, I'm this thing today, and there must be a facility in every place I go.
I must be taken care of.
Right. While we're really, like, trying to work on things like equality.
Mm-hmm.
And that's working the other way. That's about equality of outcome as opposed to equality of opportunity.
Yeah.
Equality of opportunity is a very achievable thing.
Of course.
You could put everybody at about the same line. We could. I mean,
we could,
because it costs money that we have it, but they won't. They're not going to do it.
Yeah, no.
But equality of opportunity is attainable. Equality of outcome will never exist. You're a dude who wakes up every day and decides what gender you are.
Right.
Like, nobody has time for that, man. No. You're fine. Do your thing.
Yeah.
Do your thing. But you see what's going on in the world.
Right.
And you choose now to be like, I'm being marginalized.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
Kicking Holocaust survivors out of their bathroom.
Yeah. Listen.
That was a bit extreme. But
the last Graham's episode that he's about to post, listen to that because we had a great conversation about this. And I'm not going to spoil it, but it is a really good conversation, and it's something that everybody's not going to be happy. So yeah,
it was frank, and it wasn't really about opinions. It was just about me being like, "Here's how things once were." Not that things all over the world were better then,
right?
But in that moment, in that instance, we had arrived somewhere.
Yeah.
So listen to it.
And
that comes off wrong. It does sound like it's going to be a bit of like an intolerant rant, but it's not.
It's not. It's really not.
Very measured.
No.
Absolutely.
And if you have a problem, Graham's number is what?
847-665-9238.
There you go.
Back and listen to that.
Yes.
But I plug
absolutely flood his box. Yeah. Don't that. Hey, look, we talked about it on another podcast, not Pod Caviar.
Shit. I have over-platformed myself. You are the most widely available podcast in the world.
Yeah, this will be shot throughout the whole globe. If I can get somebody to shoot a stream of the podcast out into space, that way when aliens come here, before I fuck them, they will know exactly who the fuck I am and what they're dealing with. So, I'm working towards that. I'm damn near there.
It's not a terrible goal.
No.
To beam out into space.
No.
I think we are anyway, though, right?
Probably.
Because, it shoots out to satellites or something.
Yeah. Hey, you never know.
I don't know what happens after we come in here a couple times a week and convert our voices into zeros and ones.
You know what happens? The shit. You know what happens? The shit happens in real life because we just did an episode about the guy who stole a plane, and guess what?
God.
A guy in fucking Seattle stole a plane. A maintainer stole a plane and crashed it.
What?
I swear to God, yeah.
Why did we do the whole episode about that?
Because I kept forgetting about it.
Oh,
yeah.
That's a good fan theory.
Yeah.
About a thing that happened in real life. We're like, hey, these guys seem to talk things into existence.
See there? Yeah. And it's happening. So, winning the lottery is great. I think that we're going to do great when we win the lottery.
Win the Powerball.
Yeah.
I think that's very
It's going to
important.
happen. So
I am a little concerned about the possibility of aliens with coffee grinder vaginas coming into existence.
Right.
And
but dolphins and ostriches. So, yeah, I mean, yeah. Listen, dolphins are the fucking enemy, okay?
Absolutely.
And don't forget that. I post this shit all the time, Pod Caviar, the Instagram, and you scroll through it, there will be periodically something about dolphins and how they are really trying to fuck with humanity.
Yeah, sometimes literally trying to fuck humans.
Yeah. I mean, that has happened more than once. Pretty disturbing, but...
To the point where they've earned a reputation.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, we try to keep... We're telling y'all.
Yeah.
When they start fucking crawling about the fucking water after us.
Well, no.
You've been warned.
Yep. Go in the ocean if you want to. Mm-hmm. I hope you're listening to this on waterproof earbuds.
Right.
You're scuba diving somewhere in some beautiful clear water and you see a dolphin. And you're like, oh, look how pretty that dolphin is. And then you look into its eye. And it looks like a guy on a subway platform in 1970 wearing a trench coat with like a scar down the side of his face. And you're like, oh, Jesus.
Can you imagine how fucking weird that would be if no shit got off a subway platform in a fucking corner? And just out of nowhere, you hear, and he fucking like, wobbles. In the light and shit, you see the snout. They're like, what the fuck is this?
Feet flapping on those tiles.
Fucking
little flipper.
doing a slap shit. Yeah.
No.
Oh my God.
You know what time it was.
And then you thought that the fucking the news story about the guy riding a bike, jacking off, trying to break into that building, that fucking house was weird.
Yeah.
Imagine reading an article about a fucking dolphin.
Oh, yeah, doing that. Yeah. Damn, we should have mentioned that art. You can. It's your podcast. You can do a
that's basically the dude.
Matter.
I guess he was in Florida. Yeah, all the crazy shit happens in Florida. So, yeah, he was high on something, probably bath salts. He was on a bicycle, jacking his dick, and then he gets shot by a woman whose house he was trying to break into. I mean, was he doing it all at the same time? Was he like on the bike and then he like had the wheel against the door and he's fucking jacking it?
I couldn't go past the headline because the headline pretty much said all that.
Right.
Like you pretty much just that's what the headline said.
And I was like, this is a lot to digest.
It's
like,
a big
how did
event.
she know that he was on a bike? Because it just could have been like, local Florida woman shoots a guy that was trying to break into her house.
Right.
End of the story.
Masturbating bike rider breaks into the house. Yeah, it was
that don't get the clicks. The normal story doesn't get the clicks. You got to put the masturbating on a bike, trying to break into a house.
I think you could have just used the headline "most Florida thing ever," and people would have clicked on it. Like, uh-oh, what does that mean?
What has they done now?
Yeah,
what is going on down there? But yeah, it's just that's a crazy story. But it would definitely rival the subway dolphin rapist.
Yeah,
creep that's
it would
on
be.
it would be on the local news. Yeah,
it'd have to be in the same section of the newspaper.
Oh man, that's crazy. A lot of weird shit goes on in the news, and it seems like every time I log on to Twitter, it's even crazier. But that's the world that we live in. So
it is. Although I would like to say here in the waning moments of your podcast that the world isn't really Twitter. Having that discussion on my podcast, I actually felt like I betrayed myself a little bit because I was like, this is sort of a Twitter discussion. But that really happened to me in real life. Like someone that would have called me a name on Twitter was standing in front of me, and I was like, oh, this is what that feels like.
Yeah.
There
you have it. Yeah.
I was just minding my own business. Go listen to the episode.
Listen to the episode and you'll understand.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's like that's kind of like an episode of Seinfeld.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
that's just
in some respects that's sort of how Twitter sees the world, is sort of like an episode of Seinfeld on the verge of a race war.
Right.
When I don't know. I mean, look.
Yeah.
Hit me up 847-665-9238 if you disagree, but I pretty much go outside and I see all different kinds of broke ass people trying to go to work and feed their families, and they're all like being misled by some people with all the money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what it is.
And even if they harbor like feelings of animosity towards one another, they really are just like at the grocery store and like pass each other in line. And generally, when you like walk past each other coming out of a store, you like hold the door, like no matter who the other person is.
Right.
If somebody's like picking up something heavy, you're like, hey, let me help you with that. Because we're all just out here trying to like.
Yeah, we're all in the same hamster wheel, essentially.
Exactly.
So,
eke out a living in the same rat race. So don't let people tell you that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that. At the core, that's why I wanted to choke that woman.
Right.
Was because I was like, you're not helping, not because of what you believe, but because of your inability to rationally, use critical thinking and be like a contributing member to Team People.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there's plenty of them.
Yeah.
And there's not more of one kind of person or other of that.
Of course.
Most people are shit.
Mm-hmm.
And it has nothing to do with what they look like or where they're from.
Exactly.
It's just because they're human beings.
Yeah.
And if you give them a chance, they'll be fucking stupid.
Yeah. And it's proven day in and day fucking out. Like, we all do dumb shit.
Yep.
And that's just what it is, So, fucking whatever.
Yeah. Let's all start at that baseline and work up.
Yeah.
And get along.
Yeah.
Fucking. Because we already do. It's just Twitter. Twitter is not the reality.
No, it's not.
Charlottesville was horrifying, but even that, like on a scale of how many people there are in America,
right?
That story was overblown, like as if like 2 states were having a race war, like as if there were like hundreds of millions of people of opposite races stabbing each. Even that was like a mixture of people, and then like. But all of those people were a very small number of people.
Do you think how bad would it be?
Dumb.
What states do you think would be if a race war broke out? what states do you think would be beefing with each other the most?
I don't know if I could participate because the South would be bogus.
Yeah.
Like the South would be bad because mostly every people in the South just live next door to each other.
Right.
You know, as far as segregation is concerned, that was something I heard in college. One of my professors wrote a book about Fred Shuttlesworth, who was a civil rights leader. It's called A Fire That Can't Be Put Out, which is a fantastic name because obviously like the fire hose is being turned on civil rights activists and blah, blah, blah. A fire that can't be put out. That he quoted him as saying that like the deal is that in the North, if you're black, they don't care how high you climb, like in society, they care how close you live to them. But in the South, if you're black, they don't care how close you live to them. They care how close you climb, how high you climb.
Relatable. Yeah.
Right?
I mean, that's
super accurate.
Yeah.
To me, though, all of those kinds of things, if you break them down to their core, it's like, yeah, people fucking suck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's, you know, we talked about that earlier, like the idea of like the equality of opportunity.
Yeah.
Is like, if you give that to everyone, I think what you will find, and everyone deserves it, but I think what you will find is that most people fucking suck.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?